Hello there, good evening and welcome to State of the Nation on KBN TV, the finest television. Thank you so much for joining us on DSTV 279, GoTV 27 and Topstar 102, and of course on our Facebook page. Thank you once again. Please do me a favor, inform a friend and let a friend tell the friend that State of the Nation is live. Now, in a nation where whispers are where whispers of dissatisfaction are growing louder and stronger, a Zambia where police are turning the barrels of the guns and killing innocent citizens, as was the case in Mumbwa, in a nation where human rights abuses have become rampant as reported by the UN human rights body, in a nation where the cost of living is escalating beyond the reach of ordinary citizens, in a nation where citizens are no longer free to speak for fear of the cyber crimes laws, in a nation where we are witnessing and have called shrinking democratic space, a nation where dissenting views are now being met with threats from political cadres, a nation where it is said there is now a meeting of minds among the three arms of government against what is believed to be the doctrine of separation of powers, in a nation where many Zambians, including you watching, are experiencing endless load shedding. Many are saying all these factors I've highlighted above have given rise to a nation in distress. And that's what we are discussing tonight. So, having said that, I could basically say that is the state of your nation tonight. With 1 year to go before the next elections in 2026, one of the 2026 presidential frontrunners, President Harry Kalaba of the Citizens First, joins me on State of the Nation tonight, and we put it to him, can HK turn things around, given that you, the Zambians, are saying we are a nation in distress? What can Citizens First do? What can President Harry Kalaba do? President Harry Kalaba, welcome to State of the Nation.
Thank you very much, Pastor, for having me here, and good evening, our viewers, wherever you're watching us from. Pastor, it's good to be back on the State of the Nation. It is here where things are happening.
It's good to have you, and I would like to say, you know, we watched the incident in Solwezi, and to see you seated here in one piece could have been a miracle, but I think the nation is very eager to hear your account of what really transpired in Solwezi on that Tuesday afternoon.
Well, it was a very sad turn of events. As you know, I arrived in Solwezi early in the morning, and we had a day full of programs lined up. One of the programs that was lined up for that day was Penyeketesiko on Father Zulu, St. Stephen's Parish, because that's about the only parish in Kimasala ward. By the way, they were voting today. So as we went there with my people, with the Citizens First officials, everything went well. Had a lengthy meeting with Father Zulu and other priests who were there. And Father Zulu took us around the property, and afterwards we said our byes to each other. And then we are now walking out of the parish premises to go and jump in our vehicles. All of a sudden, Pastor, there comes a vehicle heading towards straight where I was standing. Not anywhere else, but just straight where I was standing. I was stunned. I mean, I didn't expect it. Things happened very fast, and I didn't know what to do. My legs were heavy to move from the vehicle that was coming straight towards me, and everything just collapsed as I was watching the vehicle heading towards me. I think my security personnel realized that I was not going to move. I was going to be hit and crashed right there then. So my security guys came and just shoved me, they pushed me off the road. Fortunately, I survived, but unfortunately, the vehicle went and grazed people that were behind me. Two women were grazed, and a child. My provincial chairperson for province, Menard Msonda, had his leg injured. And so there was just chaos, and I couldn't believe. So I got up from the floor where I was, and I couldn't understand what was really happening. I want to thank my security detail that was very alert to have saved my life that day. And when I hear people say it was just a simple RTA and Kalaba is trying to make up stuff, I am a very strong person myself, Pastor. I have got no time to come here and begin making up stuff. That's not for me. That's for lesser men. I endure so much in my own life. And what I really saw was saddening. And it was sad to see that the spokesperson of the police really underplayed it, as if it was a normal thing. People were at church and church gathering. What church gathering happens on a Tuesday in the morning? Unless there's a funeral. If I'm going for a funeral service. There was no funeral service at St. Stephen's. The police should have taken time to go and ask Father Zulu at St. Stephen's Parish. If I thought Kalaba was making it up. The police should have taken time even to ask me. I've been in Solwezi. I only came back from Solwezi today. And the police never even took time to come and see me. I mean, the officer in charge knew where I was. Never took time to ask me what had transpired. Then they issue a statement, which I call a very careless statement the police issued, playing down things, and I've realized now how many citizens have suffered injustice at the hands of carelessness, like the one I've experienced from the police command. They should take time before they issue statements. They should not rush for partisan statements. This is a country.
I was going to actually make a follow-up on this police statement. They called it a normal road traffic incident. The information that we got as a media house on the ground was that the ML white Mercedes-Benz was actually being driven or was owned or is owned by a figure linked to a named political party. I'm not sure if that is verifiable information.
I don't think you shouldn't say named political party. It is the UPND. And this information came from the police. It is even the police who told us that this vehicle belongs to one of the leaders of the UPND. It is the police who told my colleagues when they took that officer to the police station. I think it was after they had said that they realized maybe this thing will have gone viral, that now they began backtracking and begin to cover this. The police is a service. The police must be an institute for everybody to feel protected. And I am a Zambian just like any, even those today were in the ruling party, tomorrow they'll be in the opposition.
Do you think you were targeted?
I was targeted. I have got no reason to doubt that I was not targeted because the vehicle hitting me. I'm only explaining this because I'm alive by God's grace. But I was targeted. Why would I begin making up stuff? Why?
So when is it the woman and the child who were hit in the incident?
Yes, I'm my provincial chairman. Those were hit. Why would I make? How did those people arrive at that situation? And I saw other media house, NBC, was trying to play it down by asking that woman as if not to the church. It is true we are coming from St. Stephen's Parish. We had gone to pay courtesy call. The fact that we are coming from St. Stephen's Parish does not mean there was a church service there. No, there was no church service. I was having a meeting with some Catholic priests who had invited me to meet them. And we were trying to walk back. Apparently, when we were inside there, Father Zulu even heard the vehicles going around for UPND playing music around the Catholic church. And he jokingly said, I think they have known that you are here. That's why now they are playing music around the church, because this normally doesn't happen. The UPND guys were going around playing music. And the same woman who is in the hospital today was telling me today that that vehicle, which apparently wanted to hit me, was that by the fence of the parish. And when we finished, he was now sure now they have come out. And he really came out for me. So anybody trying to downplay this, I think, is not serious. And you are talking about human life. We should be serious with human in this country. Let's not take things lightly. I have seen it for myself. I have experienced it myself. I was not told. I had first-hand experience of the same. I was traumatized. And actually, I'm just convalescing from the trauma. To see a woman have her legs broken like that, and somebody will just say it's a normal RTA, Zambia, we can do better than that.
We hope the police will take follow-up to a conclusive end of this matter. You were in Solwezi, Western Province, and I want us to stay there just for a little bit. Mumbwa has been in the news. It has dominated the news on a sad note, so to speak, and men are calling it the massacre, where the police, barrel end on some unsuspecting illegal gold miners, citizens that matter died. The figures are not certain. The government has given its own figures. In Northwestern have got their own figures. Other players have got their own political, statements they're issuing, and the figures based on their sources on the ground. You are just coming from Solwezi as of today. You are aware of the massacre and the people who may have died, whether 2 or 15 or 18, we do not know for sure, because the figures are not exactly the same based on the government statement and what other political figures are giving out. When you read this and having spoken with the people on the ground, what is your reaction to those unfortunate incidents that happened in Mumbwa?
I'm sad. And the citizens' face is taken aback by the developments in Mumbwa. And we expected Nakainde Hichilema to visit the area, and we expected him to issue a very strong statement against what happened in Mumbwa. We expected Mr. Hichilema to just go and deal with the grieving families in Mumbwa. Remember, the majority of the people that voted for Mr. Hichilema were coming from Northern Province, a province he has neglected heavily. The Mumbwa massacre is very unfortunate for a country that should be talking about human rights and looking after the rights of citizens. How in God's name can you explain a situation where the police can open fire? And up to now, we have not read any statement of the police being fired or being held accountable or being taken to police for interrogations to tell us what transpired and why they were opening fire on innocent and armed citizens. You must be in Northwestern to understand what has happened there. What I have understood from the ground has been that government had put the police to guard the gold mine there in Mumbwa. And it's like there was corruption happening between our citizens who are trying to survive, who were manning that gold-rich area. Now there were shifts happening. People that were doing gold were paying to those same police officers doing change of shifts. Apparently, on that same fateful day, when that happened, there was a different group of police officers who were there, not the ones who were initially there, who should have allowed those miners to go and mine. That's where the fracas erupted from, because people began complaining that we have paid you. Why can't you allow us to go in there? Maybe that is wrong. If this country had a serious president, he would have gone to the ground to listen to the plight of those defenseless citizens who have been harmed.
He sent his ministers.
That is not enough. A crisis like that, sir, what is he doing in Lusaka? What is he doing in Lusaka?
He's mourning.
Mourning what? Mourning who?
He said...
And for who? And for what?
He said he has taken a deliberate decision not to be moving. He's assigning because he is still mourning, and he is waiting to put his predecessor to rest.
Mr. Chilema is not a serious person. He is not a serious person. Because if he was a serious person, he would not have issued that statement he issued. Himself, he curtailed the national mourning. And if you remember, Pastor, I even went on my Facebook page and said there was no need for the president to have curtailed the national mourning. The reasons President Chilema gave for curtailing the national mourning was that there had to be closure to this issue of mourning, because the nation cannot be mourning in perpetuity. Those were his exact words. So now he comes out the following day, typical behavior, and tells you and I that he is mourning, and therefore that's why he has taken a low profile. You told us that the nation has to move on. Progress has to be recorded. Why would they want to say you want to have closure? And on top of that, this is the man who used his attorney general to go to Africa and he put an action.
We'll come back.
No, but I'm just explaining to you so that when he's a hypocrite, when he is hypocritical the way, and tell you want me to believe really that Mr. Ichile morning, when he curtailed the day of national mourning and told us, it's not me telling you, he was on TV, national TV, and said we have to go on this thing. So let him tell other people that story. Him continuing to mourn is a story which is just like mocking the family that has lost.
So you reckon he didn't go to Mumbwa on his...
He did not go to Mumbwa, but stood the temple of the situation of those defenseless people who are trying to earn a living, who are struggling in their own country, wanting to earn a living. And you go and remove them as if they are criminals in their own country. I think that is wrong. And Mr. Jack, the provincial minister going there, and those other people that were sent in Mumbwa is not good enough. It gave the mandate to preside over the affairs of the nation, to show seriousness. If it's a conference in London, he would have flown. If it was a conference in Germany, he would not have sent even the vice president. What type of double standards are these? It is very annoying.
Well, to his defense, he was meeting the U.S. ambassador yesterday, and he mentioned two international trips where he couldn't go. He assigned ministers. There's a reason of mourning.
If he wanted to go and get up, Mr. Chilema should have done is to avoid. Then secondly, he should not have curtailed that national mourning. Two, then should not have politicized the story of saying we want to give him military honors when he comes. I gave you an example, sir. Died in Guinea-Conakry. Guinea-Conakry, because Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown when he was visiting China. The military junta that had overthrown Kwame Nkrumah heard that Kwame Nkrumah had died. Sekou Touré, I think, was the president. When he heard that the military junta wanted the body of they can go and give, they were hearing about in this country, they said this is not going to pass, because he did not like Kwame Nkrumah in his life. You did not give him the honors he required in his life. Why do you want to give him the honors in his death posthumously? I'm going to bury him here in Goni. And a time when people who will have appreciated what he did for Ghana with power, then only then will I release the body of state from West Africa went to Guinea-Conakry to convince the president of Guinea-Conakry then, so he could release the body of Kwame Nkrumah. He refused. He said Nkrumah was rejected when he was alive. Why would you want Nkrumah now in his death? So to meet honors. He refused. That situation that happened in Guinea-Conakry and different from what is happening today in this country. We must learn to love each other when we are different. And Mwanawasa, may he so rest in peace, he showed us what true leadership is. He showed us that you can love one another even when you differ politically. We must begin celebrating diversity. There's nothing wrong with me being citizens first and with President Ichilema being UPND. We only differ on ideologies. Mr. Ichilema is my elder brother. Mr. Ichilema, I can meet on different and discuss and agree without us looking at each other as enemies. But the politics that Mr. Ichilema is practicing, I have changed politics in our country. And Mr. today has told his family members that they do not want Mr. Ichilema anywhere near his body. And if you really want Mr. Lungu to be buried, stay away from his body and they bury him. Why in God's name are you insisting on being part of a funeral where the owner of the one who has died said, I don't want you to come to my funeral?
I know we will come to this a little later. I'm not stopping you, but I still have one question.
So the military owner's pastor can still be done the way the military junta of Ghana did. They did the 21 gun salute in the absence of Kwame Nkrumah, his body lying in Guinea-Conakry. I want to believe even in this country, we can still give our commander-in-chief, Edgar Lungu, the full military honors while his remains lie in South Africa.
Right. Let's go back to Mumbwa, because I read your statement that you issued where you're saying this is not the first time that the UPND, the mineral deposits such as sojilite or gold have been discovered in the 4 years that the UPND have been in power. I remember reading something like that from you.
It's not the first
time.
No.
So I need to ask you, within the context of that statement that you made, in Kanyelele, for instance, the government deployed again defense forces to be guarding the mineral deposits. In Mumbwa, as you have said, they had deployed police, but police was conniving with the local tax, basically the illegal gold miners. So in the eyes of Lusaka, in the eyes of Ministry of Mines, in the eyes of State House, that gold is protected, but that gold is being mined. We are a country that is still looking for IMF help. And I remember in your statement, you said something like you haven't seen a policy from the UPND.
There's no policy from it.
On how to harness those gold deposits that are being...
There's nothing.
I need to pick your mind, and obviously for the benefit of the Zambian people, us deploying security to guard those gold deposits, what does that do? Is that the right posture? Is that the right policy? What's the end game? I know you're not UPND, but speaking as citizens first, and you want to form government next year, what would you do differently with all these gold deposits that are being discovered?
First of all, what should have happened in Mumbwa? Government should have given the people of Mumbwa a grace period. They should have said, we have recognized that there is gold in here, but you know, this is our given wealth. We are a country that is owing the IMF and the World Bank, when ordinarily we should not. It's just because we don't have a leadership that is serious. They should have given the people even 2 months. We are giving you 2 months. Even if you gave them 6 months, they would not have exhausted that gold deposit which is there. Give them 3 months, 90 days, After 90 days, colleagues, and you even address them properly. After 90 days, government needs to come in so that we can now structure these things. The way we have structured Lumwana, the way we have structured Kalumbila, the way we have structured Kansanshi, after 90 days, please wind up your business. I plead with you, wind up your business. And then we are going to work out a certain methodology where you, the locals, will still not necessarily be displaced, but you'll be part of the mining regime. We'll structure it in that way. That would have been a win-win situation. What I'm talking about is not alien from what happened in California years back. I think you know the story of California. Today, California is one of the biggest, if not the strongest economy in the USA. It's as a result of this same gold rush, which we country. But government there put up a deliberate policy. They didn't take guns because this is their land. Whether you like it or not, this is the land God has given his people. We should have found a way of accommodating those people that were massacred and ill-treated like they're criminals. This is a country where you only find pleasure in protecting outsiders. Outsiders know they are investors. Your own people, they are illegal miners. That in all sense is coming to an end when I take over power together with my colleagues in the Citizens First next year, because we need strong and affirmative leadership in this country. So government made a mistake. It was not professionally done. They should have allowed those people to mine even for 90 days or 100 days. After 100 days, then government now would have moved in. In that process, they would have been looking now for investors who should come, understanding the situation which is there. That happens. When people get even a large-scale mine or a small-scale mine, and you find people that have been mining there illegally, you don't go and start beating them up. No. What you do, in fact, you call them and sit there with them. Because after all, they're the ones who have discovered that there is gold there. If those people did not go to Mumbwa there and discover that there was gold, you and I, including your elder brothers at State House, they would not have known that there is gold there in Mumbwa. It is the locals who discovered. Just because they have done that, you need to give them credence and credibility.
Right.
Respect them.
Right.
And then work hand in hand with them to do that. I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking in my former life when I was doing business actively. I was running a mine, and on my mining place, there were people who were there illegally who didn't have the papers. We had to sit down with them and say, look, you people have been there. How can we work together with you? We involved the village headmen. We involved the chief and said, okay, it must be a win-win situation. It is me who has the papers. You people don't have the papers, but you are the ones who live around this area. Why don't you become a foreman? Why don't you become a this? Why don't you start working from that part and then you can get 10% for your, things like that. You work them out like that. Not the way it was done in Mumbwa. What was in Mumbwa was greed by the leadership, because there are other ulterior motives they have. They are scared that if they allowed people to be there for 90 days, the gold would diminish and their interest would also be jeopardized. Even if they were given 6 months, the gold in Mumbwa would not have been exhausted, because they don't even have the material to exhaust the gold which is there. They don't have it. We should have respected the people, especially people who gave him a vote, overwhelmingly so. They gave him a vote, and he has not even taken time to go and say sorry, to go and even mourn with them. Shame.
Let me bring you back to a topic that you sounded so passionate about. It is now over a month since the late 60th Republican president died in a foreign country, South Africa, 2 hours flight from Lusaka, and his body is yet to be pressed because of a legal battle that has been instituted by the UPND administration regarding where he should be buried. There is an argument that he has to be given the rightful honors, the right send-off. Are we doing it the right way? That more than a month, his body is still lying in a cold refrigerator somewhere. What are your views on this?
I mean, the country has faced its own challenges in terms of being cursed. How can you have your former president lying in a foreign country?
Is that not a strong word?
Utipwa.
Since you are a Christian and the Bible says, you know, what you speak has power.
No, but it is what has happened to our country. I'm not speaking what is not there. President Lungu, his body, his remains are still in a mortuary. Like you put it, it's in a fridge in Pretoria. And we don't know when he'll be put to rest. Is that how you can treat a leader? A person that looked after this country for 7 years. You gave him that mandate to run over the affairs of Zambia for 7 years. Isn't that shameful for a country? Isn't that distasteful? And we should behave and pretend here that things are okay? Because when we speak, we'll be accused of not liking the president? I think let's be reasonable and fair here. The president should, my deepest wish, Pastor, I think I was telling you before we come on this program, I was telling that my deepest wish was that President Lungu should have been buried here in Zambia. But circumstances like Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana have not allowed President Lungu to rest here. And I understand perfectly. Why? Because this is a man that was humiliated when he was alive. For your own information, Pastor, I took, on the 3rd of January, I spent about 3 hours with the former president. 3 hours, the two of us, only the two of us. He was brought in that place where we met. He was brought in by Mr. Chanda, his ADC. He can give you an account of that story, because it's a fact. And I was also taken to that place by my driver. So, technically, there were only 4 people. My driver, who is a security person of mine, as well as Mr. Chanda, the ADC to the former president, the late president, and myself and President Lungu. And the two of us stayed in that room for 3 hours. And one of the issues he was lamenting about was that he was not feeling well, and that he was hoping that he would be allowed to travel to South Africa. I think it was on the 6th or so, or 7th, when he went to South Africa. He said he did not understand, he didn't have appetite, and that he was losing weight and he didn't understand what was really happening with him. And he says it's because, you know, I have missed several sessions of review. So my doctors cannot really put a finger to it. I will need to go. And pray for me, Kalaba, so that they don't stop me when I go to South Africa, because I need to go for treatment. I said, is it? So this is a man that was already lamenting about this, the authorities' refusal to allow him to go and get his medical treatment. So what is wrong? That's why I was talking about Manawasa. Sata was his heaviest critic, despite everything. When Simon Miti, the then permanent secretary of health, called President Manawasa was in a gym, told that brother is not feeling well. He has had, he's a cardiac arrest. And Manawasa said, whatever happens, I want that man alive. Can you evacuate him to South Africa? That is leadership par excellence. Leadership par excellence. And Zambia has got so many strengths. One of the weaknesses we have is this leadership of vengeance. When I become president as Harry Kalaba, Chilema should come PA. No. I can tell you and keep this program if you want. When God Almighty will allow him to ascend to the throne, Chilema should not even worry about Harry Kalaba following him. We need to have Mr. Chilema there. Guidance. We need to keep him well. We need his family well. But the way Mr. Lungu was treated before he died, it was not honorable. As you know, his benefits were withdrawn. He didn't have personal security. He didn't have vehicles from this. Imagine you rule the country for 7 years and they withdraw your security. You know, of state to make so many decisions. There are people who are in jail whose families are languishing because they think you are the one that signed the documents for them to go in jail. They are looking for you. And then the state says, no, you are on your own. That was cruelty of the highest order. And anybody who can come and tell me here, to know I am doing low profile because I am mourning, I'll tell them that is crap.
The government recently amended its indictment on the High Court and removed the Minister of and the international cooperation after a backlash that you don't sue a foreign government, perhaps over a domestic matter. Many of our viewers may not completely understand this. Yourself as a former foreign affairs, you probably are very well, you're very well familiar with what is at here, that our Zambian government sued a diplomat inadvertently or by extension. They sued the South African government and in their own
You sue a foreign minister, that's what you have sued.
So what came to your mind when you heard about happening quickly amended and withdrew the name of the Minister of
First of all,
Cooperation?
I was shocked. I was equally shocked depth and understanding of it. I was surprised that the foreign minister could be sued, because normally a foreign minister would never be sued on such issues. Never. But we did that. This has taken away a lot from our country. Truth be told, our bilateral are in tatters. Zambia has become a laughingstock. A country that was celebrated the way we were celebrated before, to countries. That's why we still have people from all over the world coming to Zambia. Understood our role in the realm of diplomacy. Chosen even when South Africa tried so hard. Remember South Africa, Lamola, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the President. After Lamola has seen the former in South Africa, Madam Esther Lungu, conferred with, he quickly realized the scale of the mistrust between the Lungu family as well as the government. And they knew that they were going to be caught in between. For avoidance of being misconstrued as supporting either party, Lamola went to see the former first family and then was flew into Lusaka on a Sunday to brief President Hichilema that, Mr. President, the burial will go ahead because in South Africa, as a government, we've got nothing to do with private funerals of that nature. And there's nothing we can do because our hands are tied. We would have wished them to bring the body here so that Mr. Lungu can receive the hero's rest as he is indeed supposed to have been. But because of what is going on, our hands are tied as a government. That was a very good diplomatic used by the South African government. And as you recall, President Hichilema said, we discussed a lot of things and the meeting was good and very cordial. But typical of him, he had another card on his hands, which was going to use against both the Lungu family and the South African government. Now, in diplomacy, you don't do that. In diplomacy, because diplomacy is the highest form of arbitration. Courts are lower than the diplomatic circles, because in diplomacy you choose to respect each other in your own diversity. But President Hichilema went below the bar and said, we are putting up an injunction. we need to bury here and give the metered owners. The owners of the board are saying they don't want to metered owners.
There's a court case right now, but the president, even yesterday, said, you know, before the press in front of the U.S. ambassador that he is engaging with the family of the late president. But there is information coming out of South Africa that the family has not been engaged and they are not willing to be engaged because, according to the spokesperson of the family, the moment the government took the case to court, they lost the trust for engagement.
Yeah, again, Mr. Ichilema was not being sincere, typical of him. He was not being sincere when he met the American ambassador that he had met the family. You know what I did?
No, he hasn't met. He's engaging.
That he has engaged the family, sorry. That he had engaged the family, sir. He didn't engage the family. I did my own private investigation. Immediately I heard him waffling there, saying no engagement, what. I said, let me call 3 or 4 people. And I called this one told me it was negative, this one told me it was negative, this one told me it was negative. And these are reliable sources. They told me we have not heard. They told me we have not received that. Called me when it's news to us as well. Now, I don't want to believe that those people can just feign ignorance of the discussions which he had been talking to. Who is he using for those negotiations? Who has he been talking to? So you cannot be, you cannot be just conjugating things in your head and then say them to the public and think you'll get away with them. That is dangerous. That is not right. I think let's spare the Lungu family. They are in mourning. They are in grief. And let's stop concocting lies. We are fed up.
Right. Now, I need to ask you this question. Might be a little bit uncomfortable, but I listen to you right now. You sound so hard on President Ichilema. You have called him this or that. But when I read social media, when I listen to other political commentators, they have accused you of being a surrogate of the UPND. I mean, if you are a surrogate, you must be a very good one. That here you can call him a pretender, a what, but he's perhaps the one, pushing you, fronting you. They have said he has given you more rallies because you belong to his camp. There's all of this, and I'm trying to, find a balance at how you are calling him out and how other people have called you a surrogate. Maybe it's an opportunity for you to come, clean on this. You are going into an election, and you're going into an election with the mindset of voters thinking that you're supporting or you're a surrogate of President Hakainde. I put you before the nation. Perhaps speak to this issue.
Pastor, I've been actually praying that maybe ask me that same question, and that you have asked me that question. I'll be very brutally frank with you on that question you've asked, because first of all, it's a very offensive allegation that has been placed. Whoever has been saying that, they must check their facts very well.
Why is it offensive?
It's offensive because that is very far from the truth. Me, I'm Harry Kalaba. Me, I'm a man of my word. I don't say they do the other thing. That's not me. I cannot praise myself, but I think, yes, I'm bound by human frailty, but I try to be a leader worth his salt. You might know, Pastor, and you will forgive me. I'll have to mention some names in this thing because they're still there. In 2021 actually, OSIDA is a reputable organization in this country. OSIDA came, approached me that I should work with Mr. Ichilema. And I politely told OSIDA I will not work with Mr. Ichilema, not because I don't love him, but just because Mr. Ichilema has no experience of governance, I said. And I think I don't want to be part of that might make a mistake of choosing because of euphoria. That's what I told the Temba that time, and Bishop Pundu, and my very good friend, that was Cedar Group. They invited me for a meeting. And even if you tell the Cedar, I'm sure they're listening to me, they'll tell you this is a fact. They called me for a meeting.
To work with him in what capacity?
To work with him as one of those that can either be his running mate or what. So I said, no, I'm not available for that responsibility. They still went ahead and invited me for a meeting where they had invited, I found Mr. Mutati there. Mr. Mutati is still working with them. And other fellows were seated there. I think even my brother KBF was there. And I asked them, what is this meeting all about? And they told me that meeting was about supporting HH. And I said, no, sir. I told you last time that I'm not going to support Mr. Kainde Hichilema.
It was in 2021.
That was 2021, somewhere around March there. I am not supporting Mr. Kainde Hichilema. For me, please, no. This man cannot govern because this man does not have the requisite materials to govern a country. I further on went to say, even in poverty, there is dignity. If he wants to win, let him win, not without me. Earlier on than that, had a meeting myself, Gary Nkombo and Mr. Kainde Hichilema at Gary Nkombo's house.